Space was quiet around the drifting research station, floating like a forgotten lantern in the endless dark. The human ship Silverwind approached slowly, its engines humming with a gentle blue glow. Captain Ethan Walker stood at the main window, watching the structure grow larger. It was supposed to be empty according to the signal they received, an old station left behind by an unknown species. But as Ethan stared at it, he felt a strange sense of warning. Something about the place felt alive. The human crew had explored many unknown parts of the galaxy before. But this region belonged to the Tayzlar Empire, and humans usually kept their distance. The Tayzlar were ancient, graceful, and powerful, one of the strongest races known. Their culture was strict, and their traditions were older than most human history. Yet the abandoned station emitted a distress signal in a pattern that looked partly human. Ethan could not ignore that. He turned to his crew. "We will move in carefully. Keep your suits ready. No one touches anything without scanning it." Second in command, Dr. Lyra Hayes, checked her tablet. "The signal's weak, Captain." "Could be interference still." "It doesn't look dangerous," Ethan smiled faintly. "Everything looks harmless until it proves otherwise." The crew let out nervous laughter. But everyone trusted Ethan. He was known for staying calm even during the worst situations. His bright eyes and steady voice helped many frightened. Crew members breathed easier. The docking clamps connected with a soft thud. The doors slid open, revealing a hallway lit only by flickering blue lights. Dust drifted in the air, as if the station had been untouched for years. They stepped inside, their footsteps echoing. But the further they walked, the stronger the strange feeling in Ethan's chest grew. It felt like someone or something was watching them. Lyra looked at him. "You feel it too, right?" He nodded. "Yes, stay alert." They passed through wide halls, covered in markings. They looked nothing like human writing, thin lines curving into shapes that felt full of meaning, even though no one knew what they said. After 20 minutes of exploring, Lyra pointed to a door. "Captain, this room has a power reading. Something is active inside." The door opened with a soft hiss, revealing a chamber filled with crystal-like structures glowing faintly. And in the center, sitting on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest, was a young alien girl. Her skin was a soft silver blue, and her eyes glowed like stars. She wore armor made of light material that shimmered with every breath she took. Her long hair flowed like strands of silver threads, floating slightly as if gravity did not fully touch her. A Tayzlar. The crew froze. A single Tayzala was rare. A young one alone was even rarer. She looked injured. There was a faint scratch along her arm, and her energy seemed low. But she still held her back straight, as if her pride would not allow her to show weakness. Ethan slowly stepped forward. "We are not here to harm you." For a moment, her glowing eyes narrowed with caution. She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Her breath shook as she stood slowly, ready to defend herself if needed. Lyra whispered, "Captain, this is dangerous. The Tayzlar might think we captured her." "I know," Ethan replied softly, "but she is alone and scared. Look at her hands, they're shaking." As he approached, the girl stepped back, her movements light and graceful. Her eyes fixed on Ethan, studying him with both fear and curiosity. He raised his hands. "My name is Ethan Walker. We received a signal. We thought someone needed help." The girl hesitated. She looked at him, then at the symbols around the room, then back at him again. Her voice finally came out, soft but sharp, like a blade. "Humans should not be here." Lyra whispered, "She speaks our language." The girl closed her eyes for a moment. "I learned from your broadcasts," Ethan nodded. "Then, you know we will not harm you." "You do not know me," she answered. "You do not know what I am." Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. She looked strong, but the sadness in her eyes was clear. Ethan studied her quietly. Something tugged at his memory, a sound, a name, something forgotten at the edge of his thoughts. He didn't know why, but he felt like he had seen her before, even though it was impossible. He took a gentle step forward. "What is your name?" The girl's body tensed instantly. She shook her head quickly. Tazalar do not share their names with strangers. Not ever. I understand, Ethan said calmly. But we cannot keep calling you girl. We want to help you. She bit her lip lightly, unsure. For a moment, Ethan saw fear flicker across her face. The Tazalar believed that a true name was sacred, something only trusted. People could hear. But something in Ethan's mind clicked. A quiet whisper echoed in his memory, like a forgotten dream. He looked at her again. She stared back, confused by his expression. And then, without fully understanding why, he spoke. Zirala. The room went silent. The girl froze, every muscle in her body stiffening. Her glowing eyes widened in shock. She stumbled a step backward as if the air itself had struck her. She whispered, trembling, "How?" Ethan blinked, realizing what he had just said. He had spoken a name he'd never heard before. A name that felt like it came from somewhere deep inside him. "I don't know," he said honestly. "It just came to me." But Zirala looked terrified. Her hands shook violently now, and her breath came out fast. Her silver-blue skin glowed brighter, as if reacting to fear or confusion. "No human should know my true name," she whispered. "Not even my own people speak it aloud. Only those bound to my life can know it." Lyra whispered behind Ethan, "Captain, what is going on?" Ethan didn't answer. His focus stayed on the alien girl whose entire world had just been shaken. Zirala stepped closer, eyes locked onto his face. "Tell me the truth. Who are you?" "I already told you," Ethan said softly. "I am just a human captain who came because someone needed help." But she shook her head firmly. "No, humans are not connected to my kind. They cannot speak our hidden names. There is only one explanation." She looked at the glowing crystals around the chamber, then back at him. "You are tied to an old prophecy," she whispered. "One from a time before the Tazalar rose to power. A time when your kind and mine were something else." Ethan frowned. "Our species were connected." Zirala hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Long ago, before history changed, the room suddenly felt colder." Ethan stepped closer, keeping his voice calm. "What happened to you? Why are you alone here?" For the first time, her gaze softened. "I was escaping. There are those among my people who want to erase the past. They do not want humans to remember anything. And you remember?" Ethan asked. She looked at the floor. "Enough to fear them." Her voice broke slightly on the last word. Ethan could see she had been holding her fear inside for a long time. "You're safe here," he said gently. "I promise." Zirala looked up at him again. She studied his face with a strange expression, half wonder, half disbelief. "You spoke my true name," she whispered. "That means something powerful." "Something dangerous," Ethan nodded. "We'll figure it out. Together." Surprised by his kindness, for a long moment, the alien girl and the human captain simply stared at each other across the glowing room. Two strangers connected by a secret neither understood, and then faint footsteps echoed from the hallway. Lyra's eyes widened. "Captain, someone else is here." Zirala's expression changed instantly from confused fear to urgent alarm. "They found me," she whispered. "We must run. Now." Ethan didn't hesitate. "Crew, move. Protect her." As they rushed out of the chamber, Ethan glanced at Zirala beside him. He didn't know what fate had tied them together. But the moment he spoke her true name, their lives changed forever. Ethan's heart raced as he hurried through the station's dim hallways. The echo of footsteps bounced off the metal walls, and he could hear Zirala breathing hard beside him. The sudden urgency in her movements made it clear that whatever was happening, it wasn't just a misunderstanding. "We need to get to the ship," Ethan urged, glancing behind them. The sound of footsteps grew louder. Someone or something was coming. Zirala's face tightened with fear. "They will not let me leave," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. "You do not know what they will do to me." Ethan didn't slow his pace. He had no idea who they were, but he wasn't about to let anyone harm her. "We'll make it. Just keep moving." Lyra was ahead, her voice cutting through the growing tension. "Captain, we've got a few soldiers ahead. They've seen us." "Great," Ethan muttered under his breath. But even as the words left his mouth, a plan formed in his mind. The station's layout was unfamiliar, but it wasn't huge, and they had the advantage of surprise. "Zirala," Ethan said as he glanced at her. "Can you move faster? Can you help us take them down?" Her eyes met his, confused. "What do you mean?" "The soldiers can you fight?" She hesitated, but her sharp gaze never left him. "I can fight, but I do not fight your kind." Ethan didn't argue. Time was running out. "We don't have time for that. If you can take them out, it'll buy us a few more minutes." Zirala took a deep breath, her eyes narrowing as if she was mentally preparing for what was about to happen. "Fine." They turned a corner and came face to face with a group of Caesar soldiers, clad in figures, clad in heavy reflective armor. They were blocking the path to the docking bay. The soldiers' eyes glowed a cold blue, and their weapons hummed with energy. Zirala stopped abruptly, raising her hand. The soldiers froze, recognizing her instantly. "Zirala," one of them said, his voice filled with a mixture of confusion and respect. "You are not allowed to leave. Return to the council." Ethan stepped forward, keeping his body between Zirala and the soldiers. He wasn't sure who the council was, but he knew they were bad news. "No one is going anywhere," he said firmly, his voice steady. "We're leaving, and you're going to let us." The Teslar soldiers laughed, low and menacing. One of them raised his weapon. "You think we will let you leave? You are trespassers in our domain." Ethan glanced at Zirala, who stood motionless, her glowing eyes locked onto the soldiers. For a moment, nothing happened. And then, suddenly, like a flash of light, she moved. Her body shifted, flowing like water as she ducked under one soldier's raised weapon and knocked him off balance. With a swift motion, she grabbed another soldier's arm, twisted it behind his back, and sent him crashing into the wall. Ethan's mouth dropped open in shock. He had seen combat before, but nothing like this. Zirala fought with a speed and fluidity that made the TSLR soldiers look slow and clumsy. She wasn't just fighting for her life. She was fighting with the power of someone who had spent years mastering every move. The remaining soldiers hesitated, unsure how to respond. Their leader, a towering Salar, raised his weapon again, but before he could fire, Zirala was upon him. She moved like a blur, her body twisting in an elegant, deadly dance. Within seconds, she had disarmed him. Using his own momentum against him, Ethan stood in stunned silence as the soldiers lay defeated, sprawled out on the cold floor. Zirala stepped back, breathing heavily, but with an almost imperceptible smile on her face. "That was," Ethan began, still trying to process what had just happened. "Impressive." She didn't answer, only gave him a brief, unreadable look before turning to the door that led to the docking bay. They made it to the ship quickly, and once inside, the door sealed shut behind them with a soft hiss. Lyra was already at the controls. "Captain, I've initiated the countdown for launch. We're clear for takeoff in 2 minutes." Ethan nodded. "Zirala, you can sit down. You're safe here." Zirala didn't move. She stood near the door, her gaze distant, as if lost in thought. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked, moving closer. She turned to face him, her eyes narrowing. "You do not understand. I cannot be safe. Not while they are searching for me. They won't catch us," Ethan said firmly. "We'll get you to a safe place." Zirala shook her head, her silver blue hair falling around her face. "You do not know what they will do if they find me." Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I'm starting to think I don't know anything about you, but you can trust me. We'll figure this out." Zirala stared at him for a long moment. Her gaze softened ever so slightly. "You do not understand. The name you spoke. It is more than just a name. It is the key to everything. You have awakened something inside me. Something that I have been hiding from my people for a long time." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "What are you talking about? What is this name you're so afraid of?" She turned her back to him, walking slowly to the observation window. "Zirala is not my true name. It is a name given to me by my people, a name I wear to shield my true identity from those who would seek to destroy me. Ethan's mind raced. Then what is your true name? She remained silent, her hands gripping the edge of the window. Finally, she spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. My true name is lost to most of the Taizalar, even to my family. But it is a name tied to a prophecy that speaks of a time when humans and Taizalar were united, when our destinies were one. Ethan's brow furrowed. A prophecy. She nodded. It says that one day, a human will awaken the power that lies hidden within me. And together, we will change the fate of our people. But my people, they do not want that. They want to forget the past. They want to control the galaxy and keep their secrets hidden. If they knew I was the one from the prophecy, they would come for me. Ethan's eyes widened. You're the one from the prophecy? Zirala turned back to him, her eyes dark and filled with fear. I am? And now, because you spoke my true name, you are tied to it as well. You are part of this prophecy, whether you want to be or not. Ethan's thoughts swirled. A prophecy. Was this all connected? The Taizalar had been so mysterious, and now here he was, pulled into something far bigger than he ever imagined. I didn't ask for this, he said softly. But I'll help you. I don't know how, but I will. Zirala looked at him with a strange mixture of relief and sadness. I did not ask for this either, but now we must face what is coming. Ethan swallowed. What's coming? Zirala's gaze turned toward the stars outside. War. The ship's engines hummed louder as it began to rise into space. But the atmosphere inside the cockpit was heavy with the weight of what they had just learned. The prophecy, her true name. The connection between humans and Taizalar, everything was more complicated than Ethan had ever imagined. And as they flew deeper into the unknown, he knew one thing for certain: the journey ahead would not be easy. The Taizalar and the rest of the galaxy would not let Zirala go without a fight, and now neither would he. The hum of the Silver Wind's engines was the only sound that filled the cabin as Ethan sat in the control room, his mind racing with questions. Zirala had been silent since their departure from the station, her eyes lost in thought as the stars streaked by outside the window. Lyra, who had been working diligently at the navigation console, glanced over at Ethan. We're clear for now. We've made it out of Taizalar space, she said quietly. Though there was still tension in her voice, Ethan nodded but didn't respond. His thoughts were still tangled in everything Zirala had said. A prophecy, her true name, the connection between humans and Salor. It was all far more than he had ever expected when he first accepted this. Mission Zirala had given him only fragments of information, her voice filled with uncertainty. Now, she stood near the back of the ship, gazing out into the stars, her silhouette bathed in the soft glow of the ship's lights. Zirala, Ethan said, pushing himself to his feet. He walked towards her, his steps hesitant. We need to talk. You've been quiet for hours. What are you not telling us? She turned to him slowly, her eyes like twin stars in the dark. What do you want me to say, Captain? That I have a destiny I never asked for? Ethan frowned. We're all in this together now, whether we like it or not. I'm trying to understand, she sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly, as if the weight of her past was too much to carry alone. You will understand soon enough. The prophecy is not just about me. It is about the future of both our species. The Taizalar, my people, are not the noble beings they appear to be. They hide dark secrets about the past that they do not want anyone to remember. Then tell me the truth, Ethan said firmly. I can't help if I don't know what's really going on. Zirala hesitated. She looked at the stars outside, as though they held the answers she needed. I will tell you. But you must understand that this is not something my people would ever want you to know. They would destroy anyone who learned the truth. Ethan's heart beat faster. He didn't know what she was about to reveal. But the sense of danger was growing stronger by the minute. Zirala's voice softened. Thousands of years ago, humans and Sylar were one. We were the same species, brothers and sisters in the stars, but a great war divided us. The Taizalar became the rulers of the galaxy, and humans were lost, forgotten. Ethan was silent. He had suspected there was more to their history than anyone had been willing to admit. But to hear it from Zirala herself was overwhelming. He took a step forward. "What happened?" he asked, his voice quiet. "The war," she continued, "was not what everyone thinks. It was not simply a battle for power. It was a battle over our very identity. The Tsar wanted to forget who we were, what we had once shared with humans. So they erased our history. They rewrote everything. The truth was hidden." Ethan felt a cold chill. "They erased the truth." Zirala nodded. "Yes, they rewrote our history, erased the memory of the humans who once lived beside us, made themselves the rulers of the galaxy. They couldn't let the truth survive because it meant that their rule was based on a lie." Ethan felt a growing sense of anger. So they turned their back on humanity. And now they're keeping the truth hidden from everyone, even their own people. Zirala's eyes darkened. "Yes, and they will stop at nothing to keep it that way. If they discover I have spoken of the prophecy, they will kill me. They will kill anyone who dares to speak the truth. But you're not alone anymore," Ethan said firmly. "You have us." Her gaze softened just slightly. "You don't understand, Captain. The Tzilar are powerful. They control everything, every planet, every system. And they will do whatever it takes to protect their secrets." Ethan's mind raced as he pieced together what she had said. The Tzilar were not just conquerors. They were a race built on lies, hiding their true history from the galaxy. And Zirala, the one person who knew the truth, was now a target. "We can't just sit back and let them destroy everything," he said, his voice growing more determined. Zirala's eyes met his. And for the first time, he saw something in them that wasn't just fear. It was a spark of hope. "Perhaps you're right," she said softly. "But we cannot fight them alone. The prophecy speaks of more than just me. It speaks of a union between humans and Tzilar. But it will take more than words to bring that union together." Ethan furrowed his brow. "What do you mean?" "The prophecy says that the one who awakens the power within me will also awaken the power in the hearts of the Tzilar. It is through this power that we can undo the damage that has been done to our people and restore the bond between our species." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. He didn't fully understand what that meant, but it sounded dangerous and powerful. "And how are we supposed to do that?" Zirala shook her head. "I don't know. I only know that we must find the answers before it is too late." Ethan paused, considering the weight of her words. "So where do we start?" Zirala was silent for a long moment. "The answers lie in the old archives, the lost city of Zhurn. It is where the truth was hidden away by the Tzilar. If we can find it, we might be able to uncover the secrets of our shared past." Ethan didn't need to ask what that meant. Zhurn was a legend. No one had set foot on the ancient city for centuries. It was said to be hidden deep within the heart of Tzilar-controlled space, surrounded by dangerous, forbidden worlds. But the more he thought about it, the more he knew that finding Zhurn might be their only chance to save both their peoples. "We'll go there," said his voice steady. "We'll find Zhurn. Together." Zirala met his gaze, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You would risk everything for me?" Ethan smiled, though the weight of the situation pressed heavily on him. "You're not alone in this, Zirala. We're in this together. Whatever it takes." She gave him a small nod, a sense of trust growing between them. "Then we begin our journey. The Tzilar will come for us, but we will not stop until the truth is known." As the ship's engines hummed louder and the stars streaked by outside, Ethan felt the gravity of what they were about to do. They were setting course for a place where few had ever dared to go, a place that held the key to the future of both humans and Tzilar. But with the Tzilar hunting them, their journey would not be easy. Danger awaited them at every turn. The unknown lay ahead. And yet, despite the risks, Ethan knew one thing for certain: there was no turning back. Together, he and Zirala would uncover the forgotten past, and maybe, just maybe, they would change the future of the galaxy forever. The stars outside the Silver Wind's windows were a blur of light as they sped deeper into the unknown corners of the galaxy. Ethan sat in the cockpit, his hands gripping the control panel, eyes focused on the stars ahead. The ship had been flying for hours now, and the silence inside was deafening. Lyra, sitting at the navigation console, was quiet too. Even the usual hum of the ship's systems seemed subdued. Ethan knew they were heading into dangerous territory. The Tisler didn't take kindly to their own secrets being exposed. And Zirala's prophecy had made things even more complicated. They were not just running from the Tislar, they were running towards something far greater. The lost city of Zhurn was waiting for them, hidden somewhere in the vast reaches of Solaris space, and if they could find it, it would be the key to everything. But as the ship moved forward, Ethan could feel the weight of their situation bearing down on him. Zirala stood near the observation window, her eyes fixed on the stars. She hadn't said much since they left the station. Her mind seemed far away, lost in the past. He knew she was thinking about everything she had shared with him about the prophecy, about the Tisler, and about her people's dark secrets. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she spoke, her voice soft but filled with determination. "We are getting close." Ethan looked over at her. "Close to what?" "Zhurn," she replied. "The city is hidden deep in Tisler space. Few know its exact location. But I believe the map is inside me, locked away in my memories. I can feel it. We must find it before they do." "Before who does?" Lyra asked, her voice sharp with concern. She turned to face them both, her fingers hovering over the console. "Who exactly are we running from?" Zirala's face darkened. "The Tazalar Council. They are the ruling class of my people, and they will stop at nothing to maintain control. If they discover what I have told you, if they learn that I have awakened the prophecy, they will do everything in their power to destroy me and any humans who help me." Ethan stood up, moving towards her. "How powerful are they?" "They are the most powerful beings in the galaxy," Zirala answered quietly. "Their technology is advanced beyond anything you can imagine. They control entire star systems, and they will not hesitate to destroy anyone who threatens their rule." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. The weight of what they were attempting hit him all at once. They weren't just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for the future of both humans and Solar. Lyra stood and walked over to Ethan. "What do we do now?" "We keep moving," he said firmly. "We're not turning back." Zirala nodded, though the fear in her eyes remained. "You don't understand. They will be watching. The moment they know we are heading towards Zhurn, they will send everything after us." Ethan looked at her, a new sense of urgency in his voice. "Then we'll be ready. We've come this far. We can't stop now." Lyra didn't say anything, but her face tightened. She knew how dangerous the situation was. They had no way of knowing how much time they had before the Tazalar closed in on them. Ours passed in tense silence as the silver wind traveled deeper into Tazalar space. The stars around them became less familiar, the regions of space darker and more mysterious. They had entered an area where no human had been in centuries. The ship's sensors began to pick up strange readings, known ships on the radar. Odd energy pulses that didn't match anything in the human database. Lyra's fingers flew across the console. "Captain, we're being followed. I'm detecting at least 3 ship-stoler ships. They've picked up our signal." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. They had been careful, too careful. But now, it seemed the Tazalar were one step ahead. "How far behind?" he asked, his voice calm despite the rising tension. "Not far. They're closing in fast," Lyra replied. "They'll catch up with us in less than an hour." Zirala stepped forward, her face pale. "I told you. They will never let us reach Zhurn. We must make a decision now. What do you mean?" Ethan asked, his mind racing. "There is a place," she said, her voice low, almost reluctant. "A place where I can hide just long enough to lose them. But it is dangerous, and it will not hold them for long. We must act quickly." Ethan glanced at Lyra, who was already preparing the ship's systems for evasive maneuvers. "What is this place?" "A planet," Zirala answered, "called Vertha. It is a desolate world, a dead world. But there is an old Siler outpost. They're a place used for hiding sensitive materials. It is buried deep within the planet's surface, far from any detection systems. If we go there, we might be able to shake them off long enough to plan our next move. Ethan didn't hesitate. Set a course for Vertha. Lyra, get us there as fast as you can. As the ship made its way towards the dark planet, the tension in the cabin grew. The crew knew they were running out of time. They had to hide or face the full wrath of the Tazala. Zerala sat in silence, her hands resting on her knees. Ethan could tell she was struggling with something. He walked over to her, his voice soft. "Are you okay?" She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and resolve. "I am not afraid of what they will do to me," she said, her voice steady. "I am afraid of what will happen if we fail. If we do not stop the Taizalar from destroying everything, then both our species will be lost." Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. He knew they had no choice but to succeed. There was too much at stake now, too much they couldn't afford to lose. "Then we won't fail," he said, his voice firm. "We'll find Zhern, and we'll uncover the truth, whatever it takes." The ship descended into the shadow of Vertha, its surface a barren, lifeless expanse. There were no cities, no life, just empty plains and jagged mountains. As they entered the planet's atmosphere, the stars above seemed to fade into the dark expanse of space. Lyra brought the silver. Wind down near a series of caves hidden beneath the surface. The Taizalar ships were still closing in, their signals growing stronger by the minute. "This is it," Lyra said, her voice tense. "We're going to have to land quickly." As the ship touched down, Cyrilla stood up, her face set with determination. "We have to hurry. The outpost is underground. Follow me." The crew quickly gathered their things and followed Cyrilla as she led them towards a hidden entrance beneath the surface. They moved quickly through narrow tunnels, the air growing cold and still. The only sound was their footsteps echoing off the walls. Cyrilla paused in front of a large metallic door, her hand hovering over a small console. "This is it," she said. "Once we go inside, we will be safe for a short time. But we can't stay here for long. The Taizalar will find us soon." With a quiet hiss, the door slid open. They entered the dark, forgotten outpost, an ancient place that had once been a hub of Taizalar activity. The walls were covered in old symbols and technology that seemed both familiar and alien. Cyrilla turned to face them. "This is where we wait, but we must prepare. When they come, we will not run. We will face them." Ethan nodded, knowing that their time was running out. The Taizalar were not far behind, and soon they would have no choice but to make their stand. But as the crew settled in, one thing was clear. The war for the future of both humans and Tazala had already begun, and there was no turning back. The outpost was silent, except for the faint hum of ancient technology. The walls of the underground facility were cold and unyielding, far cry from the warmth of the silver wind. Ethan stood in the center of the room, staring at the dark corridor leading further into the complex. It felt as if they had entered another world of forgotten relic from a time when the Taizalar were at the height of their power. Cyrilla had led them deep into the heart of the outpost, and now they were waiting for the Tazal ships to find them, waiting for the confrontation that would determine everything. Ethan paced back and forth. His mind was racing. There were so many questions that still needed answers, and time was running out. The Taizalar were closing in on them. They could be here any minute. He glanced at Cyrilla. She was sitting quietly in a corner, her eyes closed as if she were meditating. The calmness in her expression made it hard to believe that she was the same person who had fought off Salar soldiers with such deadly precision only hours earlier. Now, her mind seemed far away, lost in thoughts that Ethan couldn't even begin to understand. Lyra approached him, her face tense. "Captain, the Taizalar ships are almost here. We can't stay hidden for long. We need to come up with a plan." Ethan stopped pacing and turned to face her. "What options do we have left?" "They'll find us sooner or later. We could try to outrun them," Lyra suggested, "but the silver wind isn't fast enough. And even if we manage to escape, they'll keep hunting us down. We're outnumbered, and they have the technology to track us wherever we go." Ethan's mind raced. The Taizalar had the entire galaxy under their control. No matter where they went, they would always be just a step behind. But then, something Zirala had said echoed in his mind. The prophecy, he said, more to himself than to anyone else. Zirala, you said that the prophecy speaks of a union between humans and Taslar. Is that the key? Is that how we can stop them? Zirala looked up at him, her eyes filled with a quiet intensity. The prophecy is not just a story. It is a truth that was buried long ago. The Tazala can never rule the galaxy alone. They must be united with humanity only, then can both species thrive. Ethan frowned. How does that help us now? The Tazalar will never accept that. They have no choice, Zirala said softly. They do not remember their past. They do not know what they have lost. But you, she looked at him, her gaze steady and unwavering. You are the key. You and those like you. If we can show them that we are not enemies, but partners, they may finally see the truth. Lyra shook her head, clearly skeptical. You're asking us to convince an empire of conquerors to just change everything. You think they'll listen? Zirala stood and walked towards the control console. The Taslar are not all the same. There are factions among them, factions that would rather see the galaxy united than divided. But they are in hiding, scattered and forgotten. The Council's power is not as absolute as it seems. If we can find them, we can build a new path forward. Ethan took a deep breath. The situation was bleak, and every plan seemed more impossible than the last. But one thing was certain. They couldn't keep running forever. They had to stand their ground. We'll try, he said finally. We'll fight. Not just for us, but for the future of both our species. Zirala nodded. Then we must be ready. They are coming. The ground beneath them trembled as the first of the Taslar ships arrived. The sound of powerful engines echoed in the distance. The walls of the outpost began to vibrate as the Taslar forces set up a perimeter. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. There was no more time to waste. The Tazar would be at their doorstep in minutes. Everyone, prepare yourselves, he said, his voice steady. We fight for the future, for humanity, for everything we've lost. Lyra stood tall, her eyes fierce with determination. We won't let them take you, Zirala. We'll make sure they see that humans and Sylar can stand together. Zirala gave a small, sad smile. I hope you're right. Outside the outpost, the Tizal ships had landed. The soldiers, tall and imposing in their gleaming armor, began to move towards the entrance. Ethan and his team could hear their heavy footsteps echoing through the air. They had come. The moment of truth had arrived. Zirala turned to face them, her expression resolute. We must make a stand here. If we do not show them the power of our unity, all will be lost. Ethan nodded. We will fight together. We're not just protecting you, Zirala, we're protecting everything we stand for. They moved quickly to the entrance of the outpost. Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline as the first Taslar soldiers appeared, their cold blue eyes scanning the area. The Taslar leader stepped forward, his voice like thunder. Zirala, you have betrayed your people. You have broken our laws by speaking of the prophecy. Your punishment will be severe. Zirala stood tall, her eyes locked with the leaders. I have not betrayed anyone. I have told the truth. It is you who have forgotten your past. And it is you who will destroy us all if you do not listen. The leader scoffed, raising his weapon. You are a fool, Zirala. The Tizals are the rulers of this galaxy. Nothing will change that. Ethan stepped forward, his voice firm. You've forgotten something important. The galaxy was never meant to be ruled by one species alone. The prophecy says that only by joining with humanity can the Tazalar fulfill their true potential. If you do not see that, you will fall. The Solar soldiers hesitated, clearly unnerved by Ethan's words. Zirala's gaze softened slightly as she looked at him. Perhaps there is hope for you after all. Human, the leader said, his voice filled with disdain. But it is too late. You cannot change the future. Suddenly, the sound of blaster fire erupted in the air. A group of Sylar soldiers launched their attack, and chaos erupted. Ethan quickly took cover behind a nearby pillar, his heart pounding as the battle unfolded around him. We can't back down now. Lyra shouted as she fired her weapon at the advancing soldiers. Ethan fired back, each shot carefully aimed. They had no choice now but to fight. If they could hold off the Tizal long enough, maybe they would see the truth. Maybe they could make a change. The battle raged on, but Ethan's resolve remained steady. He fought not just for his own survival, but for the future of both humanity and the Tizler. They'd come too far to stop now, in the midst of the chaos. Zirala stood at the front, her movements graceful and deadly as she fought off the Tazler soldiers. Her eyes were filled with the fire of her people's lost history, and for the first time, Ethan saw the full weight of the prophecy in her gaze. The leader of the Tizaler was growing more and more frustrated as the battle continued. "Enough," he shouted, raising his weapon to signal his soldiers to stop. The Tizler soldiers paused, and silence fell over the battlefield. Zirala stepped forward, her eyes meeting the leaders once more. "It is not too late. Join us. Together, we can restore the galaxy to what it was meant to be." For a long moment, the Tizar leader stood still, his gaze flickering between Zirala and Ethan. Slowly, he lowered his weapon. "Perhaps," he said, his voice low, "there is more to this prophecy than I realized." Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The battle wasn't over, but the first steps toward peace had been taken. The future of the galaxy of both humans and Solar was now in their hands, and for the first time, Ethan felt a real sense of hope.